those of you who are here, if you're wearing a yellow lanyard, that's because you don't want to be visible in that, and we will respect that. We've invited you to sit towards the edges. But you may see this man coming around with a camera, and they may capture you in your conversation and your engagement. And if your face is going to feature in it, we will ask you to sign a piece of paper to give us the ability to use that rights. And you will see very soon the short video that's produced as a result of this. So that's what's happening. We want you to be part of the conversation, so we're going to be using a tool called Slido. You're probably familiar with it. We're showing you on screen now. There is a QR code, so you can point your phone or your smart device at it, and it will automatically take you to slido.com. And that's where you need to put in the hashtag #EOBioeconomy, and that will take you to the privileged space for you to ask questions and engage with us. And we're also going to be running a whole series of polls. And the first poll we're going to do, just to get us all warmed up and ready, for those online and in this room, we want to understand which part of the bioeconomy do you come from? And we've given you different options to say what kind of sector you come from. So are you engaged in, for example, research? Are you from the primary production community? And this might be agriculture, forestry, fisheries, etc. Are you from the industry, for an SME? So these are the options we're giving you in the poll. So go to slido.com or follow that QR code, and we're asking you to answer on that poll. Which part of the bioeconomy do you come from? Perhaps you're from the NGO sector or civil society. You're a campaigner or an advocate. Maybe you are from a government institution at European, national, regional, or even local level. Maybe you're from a youth organization and you're a campaigner as well. So we're inviting you to select which sector you come from, and that will give us a sense of who's in the room, who's online, and who's engaging. And the aim when we put this event together was very much to bring people together, to create a dialogue between these different sectors, because that's the only way we can develop a vision going forward of the bioeconomy. So we should be able to see in real time, if I could see the Slido, please. We want to see, the poll should be open. Here we go, and I can see so far we've had more than 100 responses, and a third of the audience is identifying as coming from the government and the public sector. We have a quarter from the research and academic community. We have 13% so far from youth organizations, 9% from industry, and about 5% is coming from NGOs and civil society, I think. So that's roughly who we have watching us. And that's useful for our speakers because they understand who they're looking at. What I think is quite interesting is we have all of the different sectors represented in the room. And we're delighted to see youth organizations participating, but of course, we recognize you might have several hats. You might be a young farmer. You might be a young researcher. So the youth organization participation isn't the only way we would see the voice of youth in this conference. So thank you very much for engaging with us and helping us to understand who's in our physical room and who is in our virtual room. Now, I said it was a festival rather than a conference, and there's a reason for that. We're very excited that this event is just one of many happening across Europe. And we have various satellite events that are happening, and I'm going to show you a map just so you can understand how many different events are happening across Europe. So we are going to be having live link-ups with different satellite events throughout our 2 days. But we have, I think, more than 33 events happening across Europe, and we'll see that on the map in a moment. And this is an example to show that the time has come. There's a lot of interest, a lot of momentum. So this is why it's deliberately called a festival rather than a conference. We have people right now across Europe discussing this, thinking about what they could do and how they take it forward. And we're going to be talking to 3 satellite events during this session. And as you can see on there, more than 3,000 participants taking into that. We're going to be going from Spain to Greece and to Lithuania. And I think we're going to kick off by having a live connection to one of our satellite events. And we're going to go to Spain. We're going to meet Victor Falguera, who is at the BioHubCat Awareness events. So, hola, Victor, can you hear us?
Hello, fine, good morning, welcome to Lleida. As you said, I'm Victor Falguera, the coordinator of the Catalonia Bioeconomy Hub. We are at La Loggia Theatre, and everything's ready here for a very special event today, the second Bioeconomy Video Contest Awards ceremony. Let me explain you a little bit what it is all about. In the last 2 months, with the support of the Lleida Provincial Council and the Catalan government, we have carried out 16 training workshops in schools with almost 400 students from 10 to 11 years old. And after this, the students have produced up to 23 videos explaining what bioeconomy is in many different ways and styles. We have stories, we have fairy tales, we have stop motion animation, we have documentaries, we have even TV news, so much creativity. And today is a big day. Today we will know who wins the 3 big awards, which are the best picture, the best script, the best production, and all the different special mentions that we have, since every effort deserves its reward. We have prepared also several activities before the ceremony. The students will be arriving here at the theater in a few moments, and after having breakfast and after they are full of energy, we will have a virtual reality experience, urban dance shows, even a set of professional TV interviews, and also a lot of surprises. So we are very happy to share all of this with you today. Maybe next year we'll be talking about a Pan-European Bioeconomy Video Contest, and we will be Pan-European Bioeconomy Video Contest, and we will be more than happy to help and to join this option. Thank you for having us aboard, and best of luck to all of our colleagues here in Brussels and also throughout Europe in the other satellite events. And remember, as these kids have shown us, the future is bright, the future for Europe is rural, and the future for Europe is in the bioeconomy. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Victor. And please pass our congratulations to the winners of the top categories. It sounds we've just had the Oscars and you have your own award ceremonies happening. It's the same thing, best film, best director, etc. Thank you. So now to formally open the session, we have a message from the European Commissioner for Innovation, Research, Culture, Education and Youth. So we have a message from Ilyana Ivanova. So let's watch her message.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear Bioeconomy Youth Ambassadors, I am delighted to open this Bioeconomy Changemakers Festival. I cannot be with you in person, but through this message I would like to convey my strong support for your work. To all the young people and changemakers gathered today in the room, I would like to say, we need you to continue leading the way and drive us forward. We need your curiosity, your drive for change, and your willingness to challenge us as citizens and as policymakers, to inform our reflections on the production and consumption of biological resources for food, textiles, cosmetics, or construction material, to name just a few. The interconnected challenges we face, from climate change over revitalizing rural areas to strengthening and greening our industry, affect all of us, but even more so, young people. That is why I am glad that today's event offers a platform for young people and change makers to share their hopes and aspirations for the bioeconomy, to have a constructive dialogue and to express a joint and constructive engagement to find timely solutions to move towards a sustainable and competitive bioeconomy. We realize we need to better communicate what the bioeconomy is and what it can and cannot do. And we need this dialogue not only in Brussels. I very much welcome the more than 30 satellite events in the festival's framework in locations across the EU, using lectures, workshops, field trips, career events, and policy discussions. I'm also glad to see local events that join forces with our European projects like BioBio or multinational initiatives like BioEast. Let me conclude by encouraging you to share your thoughts in the breakout sessions to ensure that the EU bioeconomy effectively supports climate action, but also our competitiveness, prosperity, and our rural renewal. I am sure that your ideas will be essential to accelerate the reflections on the future of the bioeconomy in the European Union. I wish you a very successful festival. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And as you heard from the Commissioner, it's really quite unique to have so many events across Europe, so different and so diverse, from the filmmaking activities in Spain to some of the others that we'll hear about later today. The focus of today, and you've seen it in the title of the conference, is Youth as Drivers of Transformative Change. So I'm delighted to welcome on the stage my next speaker, and that's Adelaide Charlier, who is the co-founder for Youth for Climate. Thank you. Please. So, the Commissioner said that we need to involve the next generation of doers and change makers to help shape and drive the next bioeconomy policy at European level. What do you think about that?
Yes, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm Adelaide Charlier, I'm 23 years old. I've been active in Brussels on climate action, actually trying to put as much pressure on political and private institutions here with big young climate movements. And obviously this is crucial for us to hear. What we have realized throughout our activism, throughout our work here in Brussels, is that young people are just too often excluded from the complex debates, because what we're facing right now is complex. It's hard. We have to literally rethink every single sector, every single industry. And for that, we have to rethink also our economic industry, our economic sector, but our economic goals. And this is where we need the young people. I was last year in the Beyond Growth conference in the Parliament. And the Parliament has never hosted so many young people, like between 20 to 30 years old, and they are literally ready to rethink that. They want to be included in this discussion. So I think what we're missing here, and what I've realized by working also mostly from outside the institution, trying to bring in as many youth voice inside the EU institutions, is that we're missing a structural aspect to constantly include young people in the complex debates, not the ones that are simple, the ones that are really complex, the ones where we don't necessarily agree. That's where we also need the young people. And then also in the decision-making process. So throughout that, we need to rethink the way we are including, first of all, European citizens in general, the next step of democracy, but then concretely young people. Where do we put them? And when do we decide to include them? This reflects strongly our democracy. And that's why here I'm really demanding for the Commission and for, in general, European institutions to find ways to structurally include young people in every single debate. Thank you very much.
I'm particularly interested, you've stressed the fact that young people are interested, they're not frightened by complexity, because they're aware that, you know, when we need to change all of the different ways that we live, that we work, that we operate, that we shop, that we consume, that we produce, that these are not easy. And it's hard to go from banners on the street, which are usually simple, to entering into these really complex policy discussions. And the bioeconomy is one of those where if we can get it right, it's win-win-win right across the board, but it needs to have these hard conversations. I know some of them will happen today. We know there are potentially conflicting views that are there, but why do you think young people are particularly ready to take on complex issues, that they're not satisfied with just a simple, well, just do that, and here's a slogan? The time it takes to invest in understanding these issues and making those relationships, why is that something that young people are really ready for?
Yeah, okay, I think there's two reasons. So first of all, it's hard to talk about young people as if it was one simple group that all think the same thing. I'm representing one part of my generation and not my entire generation. But there is a part of my generation who is literally anxious about what's going on in the world, anxious about the future, and who cannot envision a future here in general with the system that we have put in place. And that's a big part of my generation. Studies have been showing that my generation is more eco-anxious than any other generations. So this is real. It means that it doesn't come from here, it comes from here. So when you start feeling this eco-anxiety, you don't want simple solutions on the table. You don't want any greenwashing because you know that this is not gonna answer what you're feeling. You know, and then when you start to go beyond the facts as if they were just number in an IPCC report or numbers in any scientific reports, when you go from here to here, it's very different. And I think many people in my generation are starting to feel that the change needs to happen if they really want to keep living in a life where it's stable. I mean, we are saying it. We are in a multi-crisis moment, and it's just going to keep going. So my generation is very aware that we have to figure out a way to make sure that we're going to be able to live a stable life. And little policies here and there are just never going to answer that. We've seen it. So we need to find ways to answer, in the short term, this multi-crisis, and in the long term, we have to make sure we have a vision. Where are we going? When we are answering those multi-crises in the short terms, are we also keeping in mind our long-term vision? Where do we want to go? We cannot forget this long-term vision, otherwise we will always be in the short term and we will destroy what surrounds us. Social aspects and environmental aspects. Because you know it, you see it today, when you answer to the crisis that we're answering today, right now, I don't know, geopolitical crisis, we're forgetting about the others. No, we cannot. We don't have the privilege to forget about that. And therefore, I think the part of the generation maybe that I represent today, they are willing to rethink structurally the way we are answering crisis, the way we are organizing ourselves, to actually make sure we're going to live a stable life. And for that, we need, yes, to rethink our economy. And this is where I agree with you, fully. But for that, we need to change our objective. There are many economists who are showing that if we continue putting pressure on our resources, we will just never make it. And I believe that an increase of pressure on resources, an increase of demand of pressure, will just constantly equal to a failing of transition. And therefore, for that, we need to rethink. How do we make sure we don't fall from one problem to another? If we take the green transition, for example, we are now in a fossil fuel addicted extractivism economy. If we go to another economy that is addicted to raw materials, extractivism, we're going to fail. We're going to end up in many other problems. And we can already see it today. I mean, look at where we need to get the cobalt. We're literally not respecting human rights, not respecting our environment, by getting into another problem, which we are selling to our young generation also as the solution, the green transition based on solely technological changes. So we need to make sure we rethink our economy and not fall into an extractivist economy, whatever materials it is. And that's why I believe this is the right decision here, but we have to be willing to rethink our economy. We have to be willing to put the right discussion at the center of the table. Is a growth economy linked to growth material today? At least for the moment, we have not been able to separate those. Does that allow us to live sustainably in this world? At least for the Europeans, we must be asking ourselves those questions.
Thank you. And just briefly, we're here talking about the bioeconomy, which is one piece of that puzzle. And you came into this from sort of climate activism. Can you tell us how you see the bioeconomy? How big a piece is this of the path that we go forward?
To be 100% honest, I think this is one of the biggest parts. We have to rethink this. I mean, that's what I was saying. Bioeconomy is literally rethinking how we're going to handle our resources. And resources are literally at the center of the way we are living today, but also of every single crisis we are facing today. So we have to rethink of our relationship with resources. What are resources? For example, today, coal. Coal is still stuck in beautiful forests that we need to keep, where indigenous people are living. Where do we find cobalt? For example, in Congo. For Belgium, that's our ex-colonies. How do we make sure we don't go and fall into neo-colonialism? Where do we find rare materials, for example, in the deep ocean? Deep sea mining, have you heard about it? Deep sea mining, today we would go open mines in a biodiversity place which we barely know about. We know better the surface of the moon than the surface of the deep ocean. These are resources, right? And today, still, we are willing to destroy either human rights or environments to go and take those resources. This is where this comes in. We cannot. It's over. Extractivism of resources is over. It has led us to all the crises that we're facing today. And therefore, we must enter this circle economy with taking into account how do we make sure that we don't get new resources, that we use all the ones that are already out of the ground today.
Excellent. Can we say a warm thank you to Adelaide for coming with us today and sharing the perspective? So, as we heard, there's no shortage of ideas and willingness and passion and enthusiasm from young people to be agents of transformative change. And as I promised you, we are also going to link up to a couple of other satellite events to find out what else they're going to be doing. And we're going to start by going to go to somewhere where it's a lot warmer than Brussels at the moment. We're going to go to Greece. We're going to go to the Greek city of Kozani, where we're going to meet Ioannis Fallas, and he's organizing his first Biochange Festival. Kalimera, Ioannis. What's happening in Kozana?
Kalimera, Kalimera. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes, we can.
Thank you, thank you. So a lot of things are happening in Kozani. Right at this moment, we are in the chambers, the technical chambers, where a lot of students from schools, especially, are attending the local champions. And who are the local champions? Are people who made some unique achievements and really promote bio-based products by economy in general. But maybe to give you the big picture, I'm the director of the Cluster of Bioeconomy and Environment, an organization that I dreamed through my PhD when I was in the younger generation, and which I established by talking to a lot of stakeholders. Initially as a bioenergy cluster, but then I was part of the European Bioeconomy Stakeholders Panel of DGRTD. I don't know if John Bell is with you, but he will remember this initiative. So through that, I got really inspired and transformed it into bioeconomy. And that's where we found a lot of added value for all the members and stakeholders. And where are we? We are in the region of Western Macedonia, a coal producer, a coal-based economy, which is, however, decarbonizing fast. So we are looking for the answer. So when we established the cluster, we dreamed that bioeconomy could be one of the major pillars of the transformation. And we are on our way. We do a lot of projects, and we work together with the local stakeholders in that direction. So coming back to your question on what we do today, we are here with a lot of young generations because we do believe, and we work a lot with them, we believe that transformation only comes when you educate, when you talk to young people, when you hear the need, but also give the messages. And in the end, this is how the transformation is taking place. We also try to combine it with local events, and it was a good coincidence that in these days we have the carnival. So last night we were, maybe you can hear my voice, last night we were all together in the carnival celebration in the University of Western Macedonia, again with young people. And that is where we participated, and we took advantage of the happy moments having around the dance floor to promote, let's say, if you want, bio-based products that we had with us, and make it in a very nice and funny way. And that was really very, very well welcomed by the young generation. Also at this time, we have in the central square of the city, we have a big exhibition, again, of bio-based products. We also have some games that attract young people. And so in essence, we try to promote bioeconomy in many, many ways. Last but not least, maybe to underline that the Kozani, the capital of the region, has been selected among 100 climate neutral and smart cities by 2030. And that increases the engagement of all actors to go to a better future, a greener future. And that's what we all want for our city, for our region. And definitely bioeconomy is going to be a major pillar for that.
Thank you very much, Ioannis. Please make sure you send us some video of the dancing that happened last night, because that will be part of our festival. That was lovely to hear. And enjoy the rest of your day, and congratulations to all your colleagues. So, having spent a little bit of time in the sunshine of Greece, we are now going to head further north. So we're going to move across the map, and we are now going to go to another satellite event in Lithuania. And I'm afraid I don't know how to say hello in Lithuanian. Is there a Lithuanian who can help me out? How do we say hello in Lithuanian?
Labas.
Labas.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah.
Hi, Christina. You're organizing the Lithuanian Green Horizons Summit. So tell us a little bit about what's happening where you are.
Okay, well, first of all, we would like to send you a huge hello from all the conference, the greetings from Vilnius. Now, pay attention. Here we are. Hello, hello from Vilnius, from the satellite event.
We've lost your sound. Christina, we've lost your sound. We could see everyone waving. That was lovely. And you've got a clap from us. Try again with this sound. That's it. Got you back.
Yeah. So we're very honored.
Nope, it's gone again. Sorry. The wonders of technology, connecting us across the continent.
It's okay.
I'm sorry, it keeps cutting out. No, I'm sorry. Christina, apologies. We seem to be unable to get the sound to work. Could you show us your room again? Let's see if we can see your room.
Okay, let's see the room.
That's it, yes.
Let's see the room from Lithuania.
And we can hear you again, so that's good.
Can you hear us?
Yes, we can. Go ahead. So tell us what's happening.
Okay, I'll try one more time to talk. So first of all, for us, it's a big honor to be a part of Bioeconomy Changemakers Festival. To be satellite.
No. Okay. Sorry, Christina, the sound has gone again. I don't know what's happened. Maybe it's because the microphone is not working again.
It's not working?
Wait, we have it again. Now it's working. I feel like we're playing cat and mouse here, trying to get your microphone to work. So you've got a lot of people there for the Green Summit, lots of activities. What's the key highlight for you today?
Okay, so we are focusing on 3 main pillars.
Okay. Yes, I'm sorry, Christina, we've got nothing at all. We've lost your microphone. I'm so sorry. I think we're going to have to move on, but thank you so much for sharing with us some of the passion. And when you've got some video or some photos from your event, do send it to us, and we will feature that as part of the social media output from today. And that goes for all of you. If you use the hashtags that I gave you, we will put that as part of the communication. So there you go. We've seen 3 different events happening, and you've got a sense of just how different they are. We had these sort of media and the film activities happening in Spain. In Greece, they had dancing, and they were testing local bioeconomy products when they got the university involved. And we had a whole series of activities happening there in Lithuania. And as we said, more than 30 satellite events happening across Europe, more than 3,000 people involved one way or another this week in supporting, engaging young people and the bioeconomy. So it's really quite an extraordinary mobilization. So now I'd like to get a sense from the European Commission a little bit more about their EU bioeconomy concept, their strategy, and how it's developed over the last decade. And I'm delighted to invite Joanna Drake, who's the Deputy Director General of DG RTD, to give us a keynote address.
Good morning. Glad these mics are working. Welcome to all here at the Thon City Hotel, and those of you online and those of you doing the activities, whether your mics are working or not, to this high-level event of the next generation bioeconomy policies, achieving the green and fair transition through competitive sustainability, which is part of the Bioeconomy Changemakers Festival. And it's so refreshing to see so many young people really taking center stage here, because I think it is about the future. But we need to make it happen now. So I really, really, really believe that they have the right energy to take it forward. So I think it's good that we start by reminding everybody what we are actually talking about here when we say bioeconomy. And if we look at the EU bioeconomy strategy, there's a definition which says that it is the use of renewable biological resources from the land and from sea, like the crops, forests, algae, animals, and microorganisms to produce food, materials, and energy. So in practice, it includes all sectors and services that produce the use, the process, distribute, or consume biological resources, but also ecosystem services. So in terms of sectors, we're talking about the sectors that produce biomass, agriculture, forestry, aquaculture, or fisheries, the sectors that use biomass to produce food, food ingredients, bio-based materials, and bioenergy, the sectors that actually provide associated services, for instance, the knowledge-based and food services, and those activities that use and restore ecosystem services, for example, carbon storage and farming, water purification, biodiversity or pollination, conservation, peatland restoration. But even if we exclude bioeconomy services, the bioeconomy represents 5% of the GDP of the European Union and 8% of the workforce, so quite a force to be reckoned with. With services included, the bioeconomy share in GDP, it's more or less 10%, so it is quite an important sector. But additionally, we all know that the bioeconomy is also not only the measure of the economy and the measure of those slices of the pie, but it's also a vision. It's about a vision. And this is exactly what we heard this morning also by the young lady who spoke very eloquently about making the vision real and really making the shift from here, she said, not only from here or from here. It's a vision of how we can harness the potential of renewable biological resources to tackle climate change, to increase our strategic autonomy in Europe, to strengthen our competitiveness, and this is going to be even more important going forward, and to bring also our production and consumption back within the limits of our planet. Many believe it is already aligning opportunities like alternative proteins, new bio-based products or carbon storage with the needs of the biosphere and with the need for economic and social resilience. Many points at what more can be done as well. But this festival presents exactly the opportunity to do both. To look back at what has been achieved in the bioeconomy in recent years and identify the ways to tap the so far untapped potential. But where are we at the moment? Let's take stock. As you know, the first EU bioeconomy strategy, Innovating for Sustainable Growth, was adopted in 2012. That's already 12 years ago. 6 years later, in 2018, a review of the bioeconomy strategy refocused the actions to better support the 2030 SDG Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations 2030 Agenda, as well as the Paris Agreement's climate objectives and the new EU policy priorities. Its action plan included 14 actions in 3 priority areas to strengthen and scale up the bio-based sectors, unlock investments in markets, deploy local bioeconomies rapidly across the whole of Europe, and understand the ecological boundaries of the bioeconomy. In October of 2022, 4 years after the update, we presented the findings of the EU Bioeconomy Strategy Progress Report at our last EU Bioeconomy Conference here in Brussels. This report showed that there were many achievements, but also quite a number of clear gaps. Namely, for instance, it showed that the EU Bioeconomy Strategy triggered substantial investments into innovative and place-based solutions and applications, for example, through the European Circular Bioeconomy Fund and the Circular Bio-Based Europe joint undertaking. It helped member states and regions to develop their own bioeconomy strategies and action plans. Good progress on bioeconomy deployment was made in Central and Eastern European countries. But the report also identified 2 areas that require further action, namely how to better manage land and biomass demands to meet environment and economic requirements in a climate-neutral Europe, and secondly, how to achieve more sustainable consumption patterns to ensure environmental integrity. Since then, the context has further changed. Geopolitical shifts and Russia's war of aggression in Ukraine has highlighted the need for even more strategic autonomy for the EU and therefore the potential of bioeconomy to improve our resilience shone through even more. At the same time, much is also going on in the international sphere, where more and more countries, including the US and China, are seen to raise the ambitions of their bioeconomy plans and to make better use of the revolution in biomanufacturing and biotechnology alike. For example, tomorrow, the Joint Consultative Group for Scientific and Technological Cooperation between the EU and the US will meet to discuss how to strengthen cooperation in the field of bioeconomy and specifically biotechnology. Even more importantly, the Brazilian G20 presidency starts this week, discussing G20 Bioeconomy Initiative, the so-called GIB, based on 3 topics: science, technology, and innovation, sustainable use of biodiversity, and the role of bioeconomy in promoting sustainable development. This shows that 2 years after the EU Progress Report, everybody is looking for answers to the multiple challenges we are facing today, and that more and more are realizing that solutions can be found in the bioeconomy. All of this provides further arguments that the EU should move towards strengthening and updating the EU bioeconomy strategy. In April of last year, under the Swedish presidency, the Agri-Fish Council made the plans for an update more concrete. It asked the European Commission to present an update of the EU Bioeconomy Strategy and Action Plan, taking into account the progress reports and the EU Bioeconomy Strategy and the changes in Europe and the surrounding world. The conclusion also mentions the need to support the development of sustainable and circular bioeconomy systems in member states where the progress is slow. It asks to examine the opportunities of a sustainable and circular bioeconomy for addressing the challenges facing the EU with a particular emphasis on rural areas. It asked for an update of the EU bioeconomy strategy that closes the gaps identified in the progress report, that fulfills the promises of the bioeconomy and turns these potentials into realities, the bioeconomy strategy. Today, we are here together to take a big step in this direction. And therefore, let's use these days to have a deep, constructive, open exchange on the next steps, namely, first of all, to share our expectations, the concerns, and also the ambitions between the generations, the sectors, and the policy areas. Also, to discuss what the bioeconomy can and cannot do, to step up actions to mainstream the economy in all our policies related to production and consumption, and also to take a deep dive during tomorrow's breakouts into areas of the bioeconomy strategy that can be further strengthened, so that we accelerate the transition to a sustainable, competitive, and inclusive bioeconomy, including by hearing from the next generation with the help of our EU Bioeconomy Youth Ambassadors. I'm certain that we are here together, and of course in the satellite events, because we share one solid conviction that the bioeconomy is an important answer to many of our interconnected challenges. And at this point, I would like to emphasize that strategies and pathways to move towards sustainable and competitive food systems should have our fullest attention. Food systems are indeed a very important part of the bioeconomy. Food systems are actually so important that the number one key success factor for a competitive and innovative bioeconomy that operates within finite biosphere boundaries, and that brings us to net zero. And our future plans should reflect this. For that reason, it is also great to see that under the Belgian presidency, an open food conference started earlier this week with the DG RTD support. The conference focuses on the transition towards sustainable food systems with the ambition to create synergies between policy, science, and practice. In this context, I would like to point out that sustainable and competitive food systems are the number one key success factor for a competitive and innovative bioeconomy that operates within the finite biosphere boundaries. Sustainable food systems will increase food security and enlarge the option space to replace fossil-based materials and energy with more sustainable bio-based equivalents. Finally, I want to stress the need to further mobilize public and private investment to deploy bioeconomy. The case for investment in the circular and sustainable bioeconomy, and as a fast-growing area with great potential, has to be made better. We have also been successful in mobilizing private investment, including the Circular Bio-Based Europe joint undertaking and its predecessor, the Bio-Based Industries joint undertaking. And jointly, they can be considered as the most ambitious research and innovation initiatives in the European bioeconomy. Through investing a combined amount of public and private funding of at least 5.7 billion in developing a sustainable and competitive bio-based industry and preparing the post-petroleum era. In April of this year, a new call for proposals will invest an additional 213 million euros dedicated to advancing competitive circular bio-based industries. And I hope that this festival and the policy update it will hopefully kickstart will help us raise awareness of the bioeconomy and seize the opportunities this sector indeed offers. In conclusion, the bioeconomy is a vibrant and dynamic sector that holds great promise for driving sustainable development and addressing global challenges, but requires the involvement of all stakeholders, including young people. As we commence this festival, I extend my wishes for its success. Over the coming 2 days, you have a unique opportunity to engage in fruitful discussions and several panel debates that await you. your views will not just echo within the four walls of this building and in the satellite venues and the 30 events, but it will also help to inform and also shape the European Commission's thinking in order to update the bioeconomy strategy and action plan. Let us seize this moment in order to ensure that we are part of the transformation, continue to be part of it, in order to harness the potential of bioeconomy and to continue working together towards a more sustainable, inclusive and prosperous future for our planet and future generations. And like Commissioner Ivana was well, I wish you all a very successful and inspiring Bioeconomy Changemakers Festival. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joanna, and particularly for highlighting for us just how important the figures are about the bioeconomy within our overall economy and our workforce and our GDP. So it's a significant proportion and could have a big difference in the transition moving forward. And so now we're going to explore a little bit how we put in a very central way the concept of the bioeconomy within the European policy-making agenda. And I'm delighted to introduce our next speaker. That's Elisabeth Werner, who's the Deputy Secretary General at the Secretariat General of the European Commission. And if you like, the brains, the master coordination of what happens across the Commission, I know that over the next few days we're going to be talking very much about policy coherence, policy coordination, but it all starts with what you do. So what can you tell us about how the bioeconomy sits within your overall vision of EU policy making?
Thank you very much for the introduction, and it's my great pleasure to be here at this event, Changemakers event, especially given the composition with so many young people, because it's true and it's right that we shouldn't always only speak about government and administrators, and that we should really also very much engage with the young generation, often actually a big champion of what we want to do with our objectives. I have a couple of minutes here to set out a bit of a forward-looking perspective, and I have three main messages for you. The first one is that, as has been said already, the bioeconomy offers many solutions to progress on our Green Deal objectives, sustainable competitiveness of our economy, and it's one of the few areas where really we have win-win-win, as you have put it. So many of the innovations it offers puts us on the path towards net zero and sustainability. For example, bio-based chemicals, our carbon storage solutions, that's really what we need. But also they enable the primary producers, the farmers, the foresters, and the fishers. It also offers opportunities to industries like food, paper, energy was mentioned already, or even chemicals, and of course consumers, the possibility to move away from the linear and extractive economy that is based on fossil fuels and finite raw materials. Adelaide put that very eloquently. So they support the just and timely transition to more sustainability, but also a competitiveness agenda where we have European companies, business models, products that are very attractive on a global scale. So at the same time then, bioeconomy innovations generates new areas of growth and jobs as well, because they're emerging value chains, and they have, as was also already mentioned, the potential to strengthen the rural areas, which supports our cohesion agenda. Finally, and I think it's also been said already by Joanna, the bioeconomy can improve our situation with regards to dependencies, import dependencies, and strengthens what we call the open strategic autonomy and our resilience. For example, when we look at our reliance on fossil fuels, we can improve energy efficiency, but we can, for instance, substitute. We can have fertilizers coming from biomaterials. We can have a lot of other input materials, and we can use biomass much more efficiently thanks to the biotechnologies and the emphasis on the circularity. And so this is this potential of the bioeconomy, not one, but at least 3 of our headline ambitions that makes this such a field of interest for us. My second message builds directly on what the previous speaker has said. It's 12 years of bioeconomy strategy and action plan have shown that the bioeconomy brings solutions. So this is not a paper exercise, this is for real. There are companies, and John just mentioned a few, and we want to build on this, of course, for the future. We are in the middle, or I don't know in the middle, but we're somewhere in the transition. And it is really an important cross-cutting objective for us. And that's also where sort of the Secretariat General in the Commission plays a specific role, because it's about the coherence, as you have mentioned. Today, 11 of the 27 member states have dedicated bioeconomy strategies. 7 more are working on some. And it then comes really as no surprise that there is a demand, including from Council and Member States, to work further on the bioeconomy. And really some Member States have also asked us to update this action plan already next year. It explains why this year, now, in the coming days, for you as well, and in the time to come, there will be discussions in the festival here, but also in the international fora, to increasingly focus on the bioeconomy in promoting the sustainable development. So as I mentioned, inside the Commission, there are several departments are working on this topic. First and foremost, of course, DG RTD. But we have a wide variety of companies and sectors, as well as also research institute in these fields. And that's a bit a typical way or an illustration about our more recent ways of working also in the Commission, where we traditionally used to do legislation and then funding, grant funding. Now we're trying to combine more types of actions, and we're trying to work much more closely also with companies and with the sector to enable the transition and to break down this sort of departmentalized view, because the bioeconomy is so incredibly large. And just to illustrate this, we have legislation on land use, we have legislation on biodiversity, we have legislation on forests, we have on renewable energy, but they all need to work together, really. That's all about the bioeconomy, ultimately. So we have the funding, innovation, we have the joint undertaking, which is really a private partnership where you get really companies setting up manufacturing capacity, and all of this comes together to demonstrate that there are solutions, but also to scale up the solutions. And that's actually my third point. There is much more that can be done. It is obvious there is the potential, but we need to scale up. It's just really still too little, too small. Especially in the most innovative fields of biotechnology, where we see a growth that is so much higher than the average economic growth in the EU. And it's cutting edge for many European companies. So really that's an area where we want to grow, where we want to invest in, because you, as was said, you can achieve several objectives. But also because biotech is such an important enabler for many things in the bioeconomy, even if the bioeconomy solutions go well beyond just the technology and the scientific elements. So next week, the Commission will adopt a communication on biotechnology and biomanufacturing, as was announced by our President von der Leyen in September 23. We are currently drafting on this. I have to tell you that one of the challenges here was really to keep apart biotechnology, biomanufacturing, and bioeconomy, because again, they're quite intrinsically linked, and there is also this definition and this dividing line is not so obvious. But it is a very, very important sector, this biotechnology. Also a few figures for you. In 2018, which was the most recent I found, we had about 31 billion euro of that industry's contribution to GDP in the EU, and 210,000 jobs. And that includes, of course, healthcare, pharma, industry, agriculture, and so more broadly, it has more than 600,000 jobs that were depending on it. And it had, as I mentioned already, an above average annual growth rate, making it one of the fastest growing innovative industries in Europe. Also an important topic for the Belgian presidency, as I see they're co-sponsoring the event. And so in this communication, we want to set out how we can advance biotechnology and biomanufacturing in the EU. We will take a quite broad approach in there. We will look at the regulatory aspects, at funding aspects. And one very important point that I want to make and underline here is that there is actually a little bit of an awareness and acceptance problem. And biotechnology, it's not some future artificial sci-fi. It's right here, it's life science, it's looking at nature for solutions. And we have so much already in our daily life, so it's to break that glass ceiling for people to accept biotechnology as an enabler for solution. Think about health, biotechnology, and of course, maybe you don't know it under that name or so, but this has turned some of deadly diseases into very manageable ones, or even to cure them altogether. For instance, the availability of insulin has substantially improved the life of millions of people, and that's from the 1980s. So it was biotechnology that allowed the production of this human-like insulin that can be used very safely and very efficiently, and extracting it from animal pancreases, which obviously had several adverse effects. But we also have a lot of biotech for the planet, and very everyday ones like fermentation, which you know from yogurt or from beer. It has so many more possibilities now, and when you can control the processes, also thanks to digital, maybe to artificial intelligence, and you can do precision fermentations that gives you possibilities in the chemical sectors. It can produce antibiotics, it can produce vitamins, so there's enormous potential there. And that's what we will cover in this communication too, on the one hand side, looking at the innovation, at how to bring it to the market, but also how to foster this public acceptance. And because financing is always a very big enabler, I would like to take the opportunity also here to underline that biotech has been identified as one of the top priorities in a new fund that has been set up, which we call the Strategic Technologies for Europe platform, the STEP. The STEP will help to direct funding to this cross-cutting enabling sector to make sure Europe can lead in those. And STEP will work in a very flexible manner, and if you have ideas of projects that could potentially be eligible there will be a portal that can guide you, and there will be very soon, starting here already in April or in May with the first call. We see the potential to mobilize up to 50 billion euros across the EU for investment there. So by way of conclusions, for us, these biosolutions, they can play, they should play a pivotal role in our journey towards the circular and bio-based economies. We need to scale them up. We need to bring them from the niche to the norms, and from the labs to the markets, and from the innovation to the broad everyday use. And I wish you very well for your discussions. I look forward to the conclusions, because I'm pretty sure that there will be a follow-up also in the Commission as from next year. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. And again, exciting to hear this breaking news about what's going to be coming up, the communication on biomanufacturing, the new technology platform, the new funding calls. This is all exciting news because it means there's political focus, there's money, and there's momentum coming forward behind this. And for highlighting that Europe really sees this as a strategic priority in an area where we need to invest and take forward. So thank you very much for that. I'm going to invite two people to join me to come up on stage, but actually before I do, I get a feeling that the energy in the room is a little low, so I'm going to get everyone to stand up for a second and just move our hands. This is your public health moment. You've been sitting down for an hour, so let's see your hands in the air, hands in the air. Those of you watching from your own offices, please do this as well. I have a smartwatch, and every hour it gives me a little buzz, which tells me I'm supposed to. I've had a warning, I've been sitting down. So hands up in the air. That's it, thank you. He's turning you around. Let's turn around a little bit. That's it. We're doing our own bioeconomy. Okay. Now clap. Warm your hands up. That's it. Okay, thank you. We can sit down. I don't know if that's going to be enough for my watch to stop buzzing, because my watch tells me I must do 1 minute of physical activity every hour. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it's actually surprisingly hard in a working day or a conference. So please come up and join me, Professor Iris Lewandowski and Isabella Garcia-Cafaro. They are going to help us explore a little bit more about young people and the bioeconomy. And before I ask them questions, I'm going to ask you a Slido poll. So get out your phones or your smart devices, and we're going to show you the Slido code again here. We've given you 3 options, and we'd like you to choose 2. Which are the top 2 reasons why we should involve young people more in the bioeconomy? So perhaps, in fact, I think maybe we should rephrase it and think, why should young people want to be more involved? But looking at it, we've just heard from a policy perspective, and we've heard all of our speakers said we need more young people involved. We heard from Adelaide that, amongst the young generation, there's a huge interest, there's a passion and a readiness to deal with the complexity of the bioeconomy. So why should we involve young people in these big strategic issues? I mean, we're talking billions of euros there. This is really high political issues here. And the kind of number 1 message that we're coming through is because we need their creativity and energy to find and shape solutions. That's the top option. And the second one is their input is crucial for policies that shape a more sustainable, fair, and competitive future. And again, I think Adelaide said that in her first intervention, saying that we need not to make a mistake. We need to not fall into the traps of moving from an extractive process to another one without understanding the systems-based approach. So these are the 2 key messages. You think that the 2 reasons that we should involve young people is we need their energy and creativity, and we need them to help shape policies that are more sustainable and a fair and competitive future. So I'm going to ask our 2 speakers to help us think about this a little bit more. But first of all, I'm going to come to you, Iris, because we've talked about a new generation of scientists, of entrepreneurs, of farmers, of people who will help make that transition. But what is needed to help prepare the next generation of professionals and scientists for the bioeconomy of tomorrow? We've heard huge opportunity. It's a sort of big piece of our transition to a new future, but what do we need to put in place? What skills, how do we help get the next generation of professionals?
Yeah, thank you for that question, and let me wrap the question, what is needed to prepare the young people, what can we do to prepare them for the bioeconomy of tomorrow, into 5 key messages. And I would like to start with saying that the implementation of a sustainable bioeconomy, we need both. We need the change maker that can drive the sustainability transition, but we also need the expert and the craftsmen that have practical and the technical skills to do so. And coming to the technical skills, in my second message, I would say to convey technical skills for the development of the bioeconomy, and we have heard that it's very important. I think the young people need to have a guidance towards openness for future-oriented and innovative technologies. Some of them have been mentioned. Here I'm talking about biorefining, I'm talking about biotechnology, but I'm also talking about modern breeding technologies, or especially also digitalization. So on the change maker side, I think that in the bioeconomy education, it is of uttermost importance that we provide young people with knowledge for action. And that is what we had in mind when at the University of Hohenheim we started the Bioeconomy Master. Practically, that means for us that change makers need to have the chance to gain knowledge in how to operationalize sustainability, how to understand the bioeconomy as a system, and how to solve wicked, so that's what we call complex problems. And an important step towards these skills is really to develop the courage to take action, be it as an entrepreneur, for example, or be it as somebody that has to develop an own position and also to articulate this. So all in all, we can see that the transition to a sustainable bioeconomy, which needs definitely to be driven by young people, is above all a journey. And we as teachers, we need to create the environment in which the pathfinder to drive this transition can develop. So what I want to say is that we should not say, yeah, we need to educate them, but we rather need to become mentors and create an environment in which the young people can develop as a pathfinder. And from a teacher perspective, this clearly requires unusual and new thinking and a lot of flexibility. And it starts with listening first to what the students formulate as their requirements towards education. And yeah, I want to conclude with my fifth point, and this addresses the required mindset in inter and transdisciplinarity and for a collaborative ethos. And that is what we have recognized when we founded and now run the European Bioeconomy University, is that the transition to a sustainable bioeconomy clearly only can succeed in a collaborative approach where different actors but also policies of different sectors work integrated and coherently.
Excellent, thank you very much. And of course, all of that expertise that you've set out, it is linked to your role as the Chief Bioeconomy Officer and the Chair of the Department for Bio-Based Resources and the Bioeconomy at the University of Hohenheim in Germany. So thank you for sharing that experience. Isabella, let me invite you to come in. You've come a long way to this conference. Don't worry, the team will switch on the microphone. You have come to us from Guatemala. You are the Bioeconomy Youth Champion at the International Advisory Council on the Global Bioeconomy. So the fact that you've come here already tells me there's a global interest in this. And we heard from Joanna that the G20 has got a sort of high-level conversation and strategy going on. So clearly this is a conversation that's happening globally. But you are a youth champion at that level. How do we give young people the right space and involve the next generation to help shape the bioeconomy?
Well, hi, and as you said, Iris, I come a long way here, and I want to give you my perspective, a little bit global, but also in Latin America. So in the next question, I'm going to expand more a little bit about the Latin American situation. I know we're in the EU, but I think it's important for you to know like the global perspective, right? So to involve the youth, I think we should need 3 key points, right? First, I think we must ensure that the bioeconomy concept is well disseminated, not only in high school, but it should also be taught in university. Because in my experience, I'm a biochemist and microbiologist. I studied in a university in Guatemala, and I had no idea of what bioeconomy was. And I started knowing about bioeconomy and all this stuff when I entered my PhD. And that was when I just realized, oh, I am working in bioeconomy. So I really am part of I'm a little part of a big part that it's like a global change and movement that is going on worldwide, right? So I think that's something very important. The second is to ensure youth participation in industry and in policymaking spheres. So it's a little bit, as the professor said, we need to be maybe taught, mentored in the policymaking phase, that I think that's the more challenging, because we as biotechies, we don't know so much about policymaking, but the legislators need our help as tech, to get to know what is really needed, right? Because you can't legislate if you don't have any clue of what do you want. And in industry, it's the same. The idea is that we should also be involved in industry at any level in industry, so that the bioeconomy concept can go round and also work right. And the third one is promote the participation of youth in high-profile events as this one. So I'm very happy that we have youth as a driver of transformative change. But it's not only just to put us on stage, but it's also to hear us in the decision-making process and to have like a space, right? So I think that Adelaide said to systematize, to have like a system to hear us, right? And also, there's a lot of like different groups, youth groups involved in bioeconomy all around the world. It's not just in EU or just in Latin America, but I'll bet that there are 1,000 groups that are looking for the same thing. So I think we should group all the groups, and so that we can hear like as a regional perspective and then as a global perspective. Because we all have the same yearnings, but we're working separately, and I think that if we work together, we will get a lot further.
Thank you. Let me come back to you to see if you can flesh out with a few concrete examples. So some of these sort of 5 key elements that you highlighted, the technical skills, the knowledge, the courage, the mentoring, the mindset, and the interdisciplinarity. Can you give us some concrete examples of what this might mean, how you might change the curricula and the training that's being offered?
Yeah, there are concrete examples, and I want to start with coming back to the technical skills, for example, with that, especially in bioeconomy education now, we strive for already be collaborative in the education way. So, for example, we have at University of Hohenheim, we have a program where our students can do their education with companies. So they can do their, for example, their master's thesis at the companies, in cooperation with the companies. So the companies can already show them and ask them the real-life problems and let them work on real-life projects. And so the students are already closer to reality and to learning how to solve real-life problems. But also at the collaborative education is also taking place when we look at the European Bioeconomy University, and where we, it's an alliance of 8 bioeconomy universities, and all together we can cover all sectors and disciplines of the bioeconomy, but only all together. And that is what we show our students, that only in a collaboration we can cover the whole bioeconomy, and we practically bring them together, the students, the teachers, to learn together in a collaborative way on the different perspectives and the different opportunities of the bioeconomy, and also to get a European view. And I think that also one element of our curricula is that we make them already interdisciplinary. So what does it mean, an interdisciplinary curriculum? Is that, for example, we are inviting students from different disciplines, from different bachelor disciplines, agricultural science, natural science, biotechnology, but also economic and social science, to come together in our master program in bioeconomy and learn together from each other, because learning by doing, that is what we need to give the opportunity within our curricula. So only by this way the students can really develop this, this ability for taking action and for understanding the real problems, the real life problems, but also to look at the system, to get more systematic view on the bioeconomy, which is a broad field.
Excellent, thank you. Isabella, let me come to you, because we're going to spend the next 2 days obviously talking about what Europe needs to do and the potential of the bioeconomy for Europe. But you sort of can give us a perspective looking from the outside inwards. And Adelaide's message was very clear that as we move away from extractive approaches, we also need to be reflective of our global footprint. You know, our demand for mobile phones is taking cobalt from the Congo. Now, the Latin American region is one of huge biodiversity, and therefore has a great potential in the bioeconomy. But how do you see making sure that it's the fair part of the transition that's going to work in a partnership with Europe?
Well, first of all, I would like to say that as Latin America, I envy you guys because you're so far ahead of us. We in Latin America are in baby steps, but we're getting there. So even though the Latin American bioeconomy can't be compared to Europe's, right? Because we have established, you have like a long road of like, I think it was 12 years on the making. Our region has made great advances in developing and adapting their strategies to harness the unique characteristics of the region, right? So the region has great potential. As you mentioned, it already produces large quantities of waste biomass, and it has the potential to produce large quantities of biomass. And it also has a great variety of mega-diverse countries and ecosystems, right? So, but this is only a little step towards implementing and transforming the strategies into working policies. Latin America has 33 countries. Out of those 33 countries, only 8 have a bioeconomy-related strategy. And the ones that have a bioeconomy-related strategy are in need of help, because some strategies were never implemented. They were only written, and they were in there and stuff in our drawer. And others are in need of an update. So the other countries that are left that don't have a strategy are working towards writing and implementing it with a group of youth leaders that are trying to work with ECLAC and other different commissions for them to write like a really sorry, I just forgot the term. It's not groundbreaking, but it's like thinking about the country and not thinking about like copying other Latin American strategies, right? So, and others, I forgot my stream, sorry. And others in other countries work in bioeconomy without knowing the term. So that's what I told you about, the importance of knowing what bioeconomy is, right? So to close the gap between the Latin American countries and Europe, that I think it's a very huge gap, but we can get there. We need help to promote the involvement and interest of the triple helix. We're talking about the academia, industry, and government. And please transfer us all your lessons learned and during all these years of hard work. And as we have told the interest in bioeconomy is global, but some countries, specifically developing ones, need your help to achieve their bioeconomy goal. So please help us.
Thank you very much to Isabella and to Iris. So there's a lot to do, a lot of potential. There's an offer and a request of partnership globally, because this is a journey that we all have to go on to. So it's in our first session this morning, we heard about the importance of the bioeconomy to the bigger picture of the issues that Europe finds itself facing. We've heard that it's a very big piece of the climate transition, and we're going to take a coffee break now, and when we come back afterwards, we're going to hear specifically from our youth ambassadors their vision, and we'll have a youth assembly, so expect more interactivity after the break. We will start again at 11 o'clock. For those of you who are here, we are offering you tea and coffee downstairs. For those of you watching online, you're welcome to get yourself wherever your tea or coffee is, and we will see you again in half an hour. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Pawan Kumar Mishra from Faculty of Business Economics, Mandel University in Brno, Czechia. We are hosting the Bioeconomy Changemakers Festival, the Brno edition of it. And our festival will include several events. One of them is Bio-Based Student Innovation Challenge, wherein the different teams from Czech universities will pitch in their ideas, and the national winner will get a chance to present Czechia at European level. The second event is a trip to University Forest Enterprise. We also plan the panel discussion with industry representatives in addition to a student networking event. Whole idea is to utilize the synergy of different events for the promotion and propagation of bioeconomy and bioeconomy education in Czechia and at the Mandel University in Brno.
Γεια σας! Είμαστε το κλάστερ βιοοικονομίας και περιβάλλοντος Δυτικής Μακεδονίας, εν συντομία Κλούμπε, και βρισκόμαστε στην Κοζάνη.
Μια επαρχιακή πόλη της Βορείου Ελλάδος που βρίσκεται στη διαδικασία πολυκνητοποίησης.
Το Κλούμπε απασχολεί περισσότερους από 48 εργαζομένους με πάνω από 19 διαφορετικές ειδικότητες,
υλοποιώντας 55 έργα σε όλη τη Δυτική Μακεδονία.
Στο πλαίσιο της προσπάθειάς μας να κάνουμε τη Δυτική Μακεδονία μια πιο πράσινη και βιώσιμη περιφέρεια, διοργανώνουμε το Φεστιβάλ Βιοοικονομίας Κοζάνης με τίτλο Bio Change Fest Kozani, Viewer or Changemaker.
Η ευκαιρία αυτή μας δόθηκε από τη Διεύθυνση Βιοοικονομίας της Ευρωπαϊκής Επιτροπής και από τους νέους πρεσβευτές της βιοοικονομίας.
Το φεστιβάλ μας θα διεξαχθεί την εβδομάδα που λαμβάνουν χώρα τοπικές παραδοσιακές εκδηλώσεις απόκρεων στις 13 Μαρτίου. Το θέμα μας είναι επιχειρήσεις βιοοικονομίας. Μάλιστα, θα γίνει και ένα trash art, το οποίο θα βασίζεται σε προϊόντα βιοοικονομίας, όπου οι συμμετέχοντες θα μπορούν να φτιάχνουν τα δικά τους προϊόντα βιοοικονομίας.
Hi, my name is Conor Haw, and I work with Bioeconomy, the National Research Centre for the Bioeconomy in Ireland. I coordinate our Generation Glass Youth Sustainability Programme, where I work with young people around the politics, the action and the science of sustainability, the bioeconomy and climate. As part of this programme, we run several youth-led events on these issues, and one of them is going to be running during the week of the European Bioeconomy Changemakers Festival as a satellite event. We're very excited about it. The young people have invited an expert in the marine to come into their school and speak with them about why biodiversity in the ocean is important and how oceans support our economy and us as humans.
Can you imagine a production line that generates zero waste? Is it possible to replace meat on our table with a healthy alternative, which cuts the yearly CO2 emissions by as much as 1,000 wind turbines in a year? This is already happening here in Europe. The Plenitude biorefinery, funded by CBEJU, is making this a reality in Sasvagent, in the south of the Netherlands. And Plenitude is only one example of the 16 highly innovative, first-of-their-kind industrial biorefineries, built with the support of the circular bio-based Europe joint undertaking across the continent. The bio-based sector is no longer emerging. Farmers, researchers, startups, large industries, local authorities, and many more stakeholders have built a robust economy ready to meet the environmental, economic, and social challenges of our time. In the fight against climate change, CBEJU projects stand out. For example, circular biocarbons biorefineries in Spain and Italy will use waste from the cities to make highly innovative, bio-based products and materials. Another example is Resolute's first-of-its-kind biorefinery, producing biodegradable and better bio-based alternatives to chemicals.
We're facing the stark reality of climate change, and innovation like styrene manufacturing is part of the solution.
The European bio-based sector taps into the wisdom of nature to spark innovation and bring it to the market. Take lignin, nature's glue, making up about 1/3 of trees and allowing them to thrive. The Viobond biorefinery in Latvia and the Sweetwoods biorefinery in Estonia work on extracting lignin from wood side streams to produce sustainable bio-based chemicals for diverse applications. Another example is microalgae, the tiny, underused species present on our planet since the dawn of time. The SCALE projects team saw its potential for sustainable products.
The project is a flagship project supported by the CBEJU and is led by Macrophyte, an SME located in the south of France. It strives to build and operate a first-of-its-kind biorefinery of macroalgae for food, food supplement, feed and cosmetic sectors.
Sustainable solutions from the CBEJU projects often compete in price and outperform their fossil counterparts. Take, for example, bio-based and compostable packaging, which is part of our everyday life, and was pioneered by the First to Run project. Whether they came from the land or the sea, these innovations target the same objective: ensuring sustainable economic growth in Europe. The CBEJU community of over 1,000 organizations spans across Europe. Since 2014, more than 160 project teams have already created over 150 innovative bio-based materials and over 50 new bio-based products. Small and medium businesses are developing technologies and business models to drive Europe's green economy. Let's take a look at the After Biochem biorefinery in the Grand Est region of France. It is turning the underused byproducts of sugar refining into valuable components for fragrance, cosmetics, hygiene, and other industries. The plant has created 60 direct and some 200 indirect jobs in manufacturing, construction, and engineering, and provided additional income sources to local sugar beet farmers.
Le projet After Biochem change la donne par rapport aux grands projets européens classiques, car il donne l'occasion à de jeunes entreprises telles que les nôtres de prouver leur leadership dans un domaine aussi important que la bioéconomie. La rupture est donc double. Une start-up française qui pilote un consortium international de grands acteurs économiques et qui les embarque autour d'une technologie, d'un projet commun et ambitieux pour permettre un réel impact sur l'industrie de demain.
Building a biorefinery goes far beyond a competitive business model, reaching a large local community. It is creating highly skilled direct and indirect jobs, generating alternative income sources for biomass producers, and ultimately reviving local economies. Meanwhile, on the Italian island of Sardinia, local farmers provide vegetable oils from underutilized crops to the first to run flagship biorefinery, which produces such bio-based products as compostable coffee pods, polyester, cosmetics, and plastics. From east to west and north to south, the bio-based sector is leading Europe's circular revolution. Together, we're building a competitive circular bioeconomy, working hand in hand for a sustainable future across Europe. In each seed we plant, in every sustainable solution we cultivate, lies the promise for a better, greener world.
Sziasztok! Leonardo vagyunk, és szeretnénk meghívni titeket a webinariumra.
A webinar